Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing well. Welcome to day 28 of Lenten Devotionals. The passage for today's devotion is taken from the book of Genesis, chapter 18, verses 1 to 15. Let me give you a brief context about this passage. One fine day, Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent, and three men who were passing by on their way to Sodom were standing there. Some even interpret that one of them is the Lord. Abraham immediately attends to them, greets them inside, and even asks Sarah to prepare a meal for them. As he makes them comfortable at his home, we can observe that there were no conversations in between, but soon enough, one of them asked Abraham, "Where is Sarah?" Abraham responded to them, saying, "She is inside." And in verse 10, it reads, "Then one of them said, 'I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son.'" So apparently, Sarah was listening to this whole conversation inside, and she laughed to herself, thinking how impossible this was in her age. Verse 13 and 14 says, "Then the Lord said to Abraham, 'Why did Sarah laugh and say, "Will I really have a child now that I'm old?" Is anything too hard for the Lord?" I would like to focus on two aspects of this passage here. One, Sarah laughing at God's promise made during a barren point of her life. It is quite understood that Sarah and Abraham would have expected to have a child for a long time, and they do know it is difficult to bear a son now. As we look back to the preceding chapters, this is not the first time Abraham and Sarah was assured of this promise. Even in chapter 17, God appears to Abraham to let him know that his life would be made fruitful and would make nations out of him. Maybe Sarah laughed to herself as an unconscious adaptation to her distress or suffering she would have gone through all these years. So how do we react to God's promises? Do we consider or even rely to God's assurances throughout the day? It is more about listening and relying on His constant promises, even when we see that there is no change happening around us. Can we even believe that God had decided that the right time for Sarah and Abraham to have their son Isaac was when Abraham was 100 years old? And that brings me to the second aspect of this passage. Is anything too hard for the Lord? I do believe this verse was not just a question to Sarah, but a promise to her, including us. Even while we go through experiences which we term it as impractical or meaningless, we must believe that God is tirelessly working to fulfill His purpose for us. Sarah laughed due to her disbelief. Our disbelief, when we are put to test in such circumstances, might lead us to lose trust on who brought us to this world for a reason. Friends, as we walk more closely towards the cross this Lenten season, let's reflect and listen to Him more, facing each questionable struggle with the answer, "Nothing is too hard for the Lord." Thank you.